Today we're going to be taking a look at this LED panel light. It's the Dazzne RGB240. Before we go over all the specs and features of this LED panel, I first want to tell you that on this channel we do tech reviews. So if you're new here, consider subscribing, hit the notification bell, that way you get notified the next time we upload a new video. This LED panel is an RGB LED video light. It's made up of 240 LEDs. You get 80 warm white, 80 cool white, and 80 RGB LEDs. It has a color temperature range of 2500 Kelvin up to 8500 Kelvin. It's rated at CRI 95. It has an RGBHue range from 0 to 1530. It supports up to 16 million colors. It has 10 pre-programmed scene modes. The hue, brightness, and saturation is adjustable. It can be powered by either a DC power supply or an MPF battery. It has an OLED display that shows all the different parameters that you can adjust. And at the bottom of the light, it has a 1/4 inch mount so that you can mount it either on a DSLR or on a light stand. Now that we've gone over all the features, let's go ahead and unbox, set up, and test this light. We get a carrying pouch. Here's the instruction manual. A hot shoe light mount. We get an adjustable camera hot shoe mount. We get a rechargeable NPF battery. Here's the charger for the battery. Here's the light. On the back of the light, we get the OLED display. We get a control knob here, 2 buttons, a mode button and a fine/coarse button here. The DC input power supply, on and off switch, and the slot for the battery. Underneath, we get the 1/4 inch mount. We're gonna run through all the different settings that you get with this LED panel. We already have the battery installed onto the LED panel, so all we gotta do now is just turn the panel on. And right away, you can see from the OLED display that we are in scene mode. So there's 10 different scenes. Right now we're on scene 1, which is lightning. So this mode simulates lightning. And you can see that it'll flash to be able to simulate lightning there. If we switch over to scene 2, it's also lightning, but this is a different pattern. So you're gonna see it's gonna be a little different than the first one that we just we're looking at. We're gonna switch over to scene 3. This is cinema lighting. Okay, right now I have the brightness set to 10%. That way it doesn't look too bright on screen here. Let's switch over to scene 4. This is the police scene. So you're gonna see it flash red and blue to simulate police lights. We're gonna switch over to scene 5. This is ambulance. And you can see it kind of flashing blue. Scene 6 is fire truck. And this one's flashing red. Scene 7 is fast RGB. So what this one's gonna do is cycle through all the different colors that this LED panel supports, and it's gonna do it rather quickly here. So right now it's green, switching over to yellow, red, purple, blue, turquoise, green, and it's gonna just keep cycling there. And if we click over to scene 8, we're now on slow RGB. So it's gonna do the same thing, except it's gonna do it at a slower rate. And as you can tell there, it's switching colors at a slower rate than the other scene was doing. We're gonna go over to scene 9. This is the SOS scene. So you can see it just flashes on and off. And the last scene is candlelight. So this one, not sure if it's gonna show up well here on the camera, but it's kind of has a real amber light, and it's kind of flickering to simulate a candle. So you can kind of see how it's changing intensity ever so slightly, and then it does a real quick flicker. Okay, so those are all the 10 scenes that this light comes pre-programmed with. Now if we hit the mode button, we'll move over to the color temperature, and this is in the color temperature mode, you can dial in the exact color temperature that you want to get out of this light. Right now it's set to 3200K. I'm gonna put it to the lowest setting, which is 2500K. And you can see the light's very amber. And if I go all the way up to the highest setting, it's 8500K. Now you can see that the light is much cooler. It's very white. And if you click on this button here, the fine coarse button, what'll happen is it'll allow you to change the increments of the color temperature by 100K, so you can really dial in the exact temperature that you're looking for. So as you can see here, I'm moving it ever so slightly, and you can see it just changing little by little as I move the dial. Now if you hit the set button, I'm gonna leave this on 8500K. Okay, so it's very white. Now if you hit the set button, which is a big knob here, push it down. Now you're in the brightness control, and currently we are at 1%, so this is 1% light. That's 0%, obviously turns off. So now if I move over all the way to 100%, you can see how bright this light gets, and it's extremely bright. So if I set it this way, you can see it's extremely bright. You can see how blown out my hand is here from how bright it is. So I'm gonna move it up to 100%. So that's at 100% intensity right there. So you can see how bright this light gets. Now if I switch the color temperature down to 2500K, you can get an idea of how bright this is at this color temperature. Okay, so I'm gonna change the brightness back down to 10%, and we're gonna go into the next mode. Next mode is HSI. With the HSI, you can change the hue and the saturation and the brightness. So whichever color you set, let's see, let me brighten this up right now. So I'm at about 50% right there. Okay, you can see it's putting out kind of a purple light. So I'm gonna switch over. Let me see if I can get this on camera here. So you can see how you get the H for the hue, the brightness right in the middle, and then the S is the saturation. Right now I'm gonna put it on the hue. It's at 100, and I'm gonna start changing it so you can see the different effects you can get simply by adjusting the hue. So right now, okay, so that's at 1527. And you can see from this white here, you can see how the hue is affecting the color light that this LED panel is putting out. So right here is at 127, a lot more purple. Now if I quickly jump over back up to 1500, you can see it's a slightly different shade there. So you can really dial in whichever hue that you're looking for to get out of this light. Now I'm gonna go over to saturation. It's at 36% saturation, and I'm gonna start moving it up. Now I'm at 100% saturation. You can see how much more saturated the color that we were putting out. So the hue's at 687 and saturation at 100%, and you can see a big difference there. Now I'm gonna move the saturation down to 50%. Okay, a lot less intense there, and move it all the way down to 0%. Okay, so you can see how you can get different colors using the hue and saturation settings on this light. And of course the brightness, it's pretty simple there. It's at 50% right now, but you can bring this down to 1%. Right now this is set at 5%. And if I switch up the saturation to 100%, you can really see the color that's coming out of this. Now if we go back and start playing around with the hue, now you can start seeing the different colors that are able to come out of this LED panel simply by changing the hue. Okay, so that's it for that setting there. Now if we go over to the next setting, this is the RGB setting. This one, much like the hue, you can dial in the color that you're looking for. But what you get out of this one is individual control over red, green, and blue. And right now we're on the on red, and as you can see, it's on 5. We just moved it to 0. We can move that all the way up to 255. So that's pure red right there. As you can tell, it is putting out an intense red. And if we move over to the others, green, and start moving that up, then you can see that green starts getting introduced into the color spectrum there. And blue, we start moving blue, you can see that blue starts getting introduced into the color mix. So right now that's red, green, and blue, 255. And you can see how that's combining all 3 colors there. But let's say we only want green. So what I'm gonna do is take the blue all the way down to 0. We're gonna take red all the way down to 0. And now you can see it's pure green. So you can really dial in whichever color that you're going after using this RGB control here. And all you got to do is hit the setting button here to switch between blue, red, and green, and then dial in the color that you're going after. One of the things that you get here is you kind of get a color spectrum strip here, so you can kind of get an idea of where you should set your color settings to be able to achieve whichever color you're going after. So whether it's you know, a red, and then it goes into the greens, blues, and so forth, all the way down the spectrum. And it has the color numbers there so that you can use that as a little bit of a guide to be able to dial in the color that you're going after to get out of this light. Now, to quickly go over the way you use the accessories that come with this LED panel. First of all, the battery just simply snaps into place. You can see the 2 connection points here, and that goes to the 2 pins here. All you got to do is just drop in the battery and slide it over, and it locks into place. Once it's locked, then you're good to go. The light will turn on and you're ready to go. In order to release the battery, you got to push down on this lock release here. As soon as you hold this down, the battery will pop out easily, as you can see there. Now you can take the battery and go and recharge it there. So again, just pop it in, locks into place. Once it's locked, it's not going to go anywhere. Hold down the lock button, push the battery out, and you're good to go there. Now the wall charger works pretty much in the same way as this does, except this doesn't have a locking mechanism. So all you got to do is just take your battery, slide it into the charger, and it clicks into place. And then in order to release it, you just got to pull it out and you're good to go there. The nice thing about this charger is that you can plug this directly into the power outlet with simply by pulling this out. So there's going to be no cords that come with this charger. Now the other accessories that you get is the hot shoe mount and this mount here. So all we got to do is just get this installed onto the 1/4 inch mount of the LED panel. And once you tighten that down into place, now you get the hot shoe mount here, and then you get this adjustment here, so you can easily just loosen that and then get different angles out of the LED panel. And the hot shoe mount, you're going to be able to mount this onto either a bracket or directly onto your camera for an on-camera LED light, or you can use the provided mounting piece here to be able to use this light on a flat surface. So as you can see there, we just installed it, and now you can use it on a flat surface. And again, you can change the angle of the light, and once you got it exactly where you want it, you just got to be careful not to angle it too much, but once you got it where you want it, then it's going to stay in place there. So very easy to operate there. It gives you a lot of options with the provided accessories. And once you're done, you can easily just remove the mount. It takes a few turns to get this mount off, okay? Loosen up the hot shoe mount, pull that out. Now you can use the provided pouch to put away your light and protect it while you're carrying it in your camera bag or your kit bag very easily there. So once your light is in there, let's close that down, and now your light is well protected, so you can throw this in your bag and it's going to keep it from getting scratched. And you don't get very many accessories, so it's very easy to throw these in your bag and you're good to go. Now that we've unboxed, set up, and tried out all the different features that this LED panel has to offer, let's go over our final thoughts of this device. First, let's talk about the build and design of this LED panel. The entire LED panel is encased in plastic, but it's built really well. It has a pretty good weight to it. It has a fairly thin profile, and you can kind of get an idea here. Let's see, I'll pull the battery out. This is a standard NPF battery, so you can kind of see the thickness there. So if I compare that to the light here, you can see that the light is, let's see, I'm going to try to line this up, is roughly about the size of the NPF battery. Now that's with the control panel there, but without the control panel, it is slightly thinner than the NPF battery, as you can tell there. So overall, I think the design of this, the light's built really well. It does feel very sturdy to the touch. And once you have the NPF battery installed onto the light, it does give it a little bit of weight, so it feels very rugged. I think the light is built very well. And design-wise, I think the manufacturer did a great job with the way they laid out the pieces on the back of the panel here, being that the battery's right in the middle with this locking mechanism. So you push down on the button, that releases the battery, and you can pull that out. So the battery's not gonna accidentally fall out of the LED panel, because it does have that locking mechanism. In addition, it does have this real nice OLED display that kind of gives you a readout of all the different settings that this light has. So it's very simple to read, very easy to understand, simply by looking at the OLED panel there. So that's very useful. So the build and design of this LED panel, I think the manufacturer did a great job with this device. Now let's talk about the setup and operation of this LED panel. The setup portion of this panel is very simple. You just need to decide which power source you're going to use, whether it's going to be the NPF battery or the DC input. And that's pretty much it as far as setting it up for power. Then the rest of the setup you use with the 1/4" mount at the bottom of the LED panel. So you're either going to use the hot shoe adapter that the LED panel comes with, or you're going to use this piece right here to be able to mount it again onto the hot shoe mount there, and be able to place the LED panel on a flat surface, or you're just going to put this directly onto a mounting bracket on your camera, or directly on the hot shoe mount on your camera, or a light stand, because at the bottom of this, as you can tell, there is also a 1/4" hole there, so that you can screw this onto a light stand as well. So with these two simple pieces, you're going to be able to adapt this light to whichever scenario that you need. And I also like to note that the bottom of this little piece here, there's also I believe it looks like that might be something small. That looks to be also a 1/4" mount at the bottom of this, so you could leave this on if you want, and then attach a light stand to the bottom of this piece here. So that's all you need, just these two pieces, and you're going to be able to mount this light onto pretty much any type of mounting piece that you're looking for, whether it be hot shoe mount or a light stand. So setup, operation, very easy, very straightforward. Now let's talk about the options that you get with this LED panel. It is an RGB LED panel, and the way the manufacturer set up the panel in the back to give you different options to dial in different colors, I think that's where this LED panel really shines. it gives you very granular control over the different colors that this light can produce, this LED panel can produce, so that you can really dial in the exact color that you need for whatever that you're shooting, whether it's video work or photography work. You're really going to be able to dial in the color that you're going after, and you have several ways to do it. As you were able to see in our demonstration, there's different modes that you can enter to be able to tweak the colors that come out of this LED panel. So when the manufacturer says that it can produce up to 16 million colors, it really can, being that you do have all these different options. You have control over the saturation, you have control over the hue, you have control as far as dialing in the exact RGB color that you need. You can control it individually, the red, green, and blue settings. So you can really dial in that exact color that you need. And then also, once you have the color that you're looking for, then you control the brightness as well. And the brightness control is also very granular. It can go in increments of 1%, or you can switch it over to the coarse setting, and it'll change by, I believe, 5% increments. On top of all that, I also love the fact that this LED panel also has built-in pre-programmed scenes, which can be pretty fun to use depending on what kind of work that you're doing. So if you're doing some kind of storytelling work and you need, let's say, here, let me switch over to the scenes. And you need something that gives you kind of like the police, lighting. So you're going to be able to do that using the police scene. So if you just kind of light up the background to kind of give you, kind of like a scene that makes it look like there's police activity going on, you can easily do that. Or switch it over to the ambulance mode, and now it'll look like there's an ambulance either approaching or on the scene. Same thing here when it comes to the fire truck mode. Now it looks like there's a fire truck in the scene. I also like the lightning scene. So if you kind of light a background, it'll make it look like lightning's going off in your scene. And on top of that, I also like let me switch over to the candlelight mode. This mode here, I'm a little bit blown out here, but it'll flicker and it'll kind of change intensity. It'll cycle through to kind of give you the feel that there's something is candlelit. Now the one that I think is really useful is the one that switches all the different colors. So right now I switched it over to fast RGB, and it quickly just moves through the whole entire spectrum of all the different colors. So that can really add a real nice effect if you're lighting, let's say, a background for like YouTube videos. So something like that, and then you can have your background kind of cycling through different colors. You can also put it in the slow RGB mode, and again, light your background, and it'll just slowly kind of sweep through all the different colors it can produce, which will give you a real nice look to your background if you're doing, let's say, YouTube videos or review videos such as this one. The built-in scenes, I can see that becoming very helpful. If you just want to use this LED panel just as a simple light, you can easily dial in whatever color temperature that you need to be able to light your subject. So in this case, I dialed into 5300K and at 10%. So now I can light myself, as you can see. I'll go ahead and turn off our studio light here. All right, so a little too bright, so I'm gonna bring it down to 2% there. And you can see that you can easily properly light a subject just using this LED panel. And being that I'm in close proximity here, I turned the intensity down to 2%, and then I'm able to get this kind of look. Now, if you really want a lit up look, something that's not as dramatic, you can move up to well, I'm a little blown out there. That was 50% there, so I'm gonna bring it down to, let's say, 20%, and that gives you a little bit of a different look there. So you can see that you can really dial in a very standard look if you just need this LED panel just as a regular lighting panel. With the other modes that you get, you know, again, you get, let me turn on the studio light here real quick. All right, so right now I have the LED panel putting out a pretty intense blue light, and right now my background is lit with some very light blue bulbs, but using this LED panel, you can see that I can really get the background lit up a lot more. Right now I'm at, let's see, 100% brightness, and I've got the hue at 510, so which is around the blue range there, and the saturation turned up all the way to 100%, and that's how I'm able to light my background here in the studio. And you can see that it overpowers the lighting that I have currently. I mean, you can really see that this blue really outshines my current lighting setup there. Now I'm going to switch over to an intense red to just kind of give it some contrast so you can see how intense this light is. All right, so now we switched over to red. It's at 100% brightness, 100% saturation. And you can see how this small LED panel will just take over my blue lighting that I currently have set up for my background. So as soon as I take the light away, you're gonna see that my background's gonna go back to blue. And then I introduce this small LED panel, and it overpowers my background lighting easily. So you can see that you can use this light for a multitude of different things, whether it be in photography or doing video work, such as what we're doing here currently as far as shooting a review video. You can light up you know, a background easily, as you were able to see in our demonstration just now. You can light your subject using this LED panel. Very simple, as we were able to see in our demonstration. So this light is very versatile. And then the fact that it comes with those built-in different scenes is gonna help you if you're, let's say, shooting a short film and you need those effects, whether it's you know, like police activity, to simulate police activity, or an ambulance or fire truck, lightning, candles. I mean, this light has those scenes already pre-programmed that's going to help you with short films to be able to tell your story. So overall, I think the amount of options this light gives you, I think, is great. It's really going to help you if you are doing any kind of video work or photography work. You're going to really be able to dial in any look that you need out of this LED panel. And now for the $1,000,000 question. Is the Dazzne RGB240 worth your hard-earned money? As of the recording of this video, this light is selling for $79.99 on Amazon. Being that this light is able to reproduce pretty much any color that you might be looking for, and in addition to that, it's also able to give you just standard white lighting and give you a Kelvin range from 2500K all the way up to 8500K. I think that alone gives you so many options that this light is really an all-in-one light. This is something that you can carry around with you. It's a fairly small format, so you can throw this in your kit bag and be able to pull this out and use it when the need arises. And just being that you're going to be able to dial in any color, and that the fact that this LED panel is so bright, you're going to be able to use it in a lot of different scenarios. So I think overall at $79.99, I think this is a great light to own at that cost. You're getting a lot of value for the cost of the product. I definitely do think it's worth the cost of the product. And just the fact that the way they laid out all the different settings in the OLED display on the back of the panel just makes the operation of this panel very simple and very easy to understand. And you can get very granular in terms of dialing in the exact color that you're looking for. So overall, at $79.99, I think this is a great LED light to pick up for the cost of the product. This is going to complete my review of the Dazzne RGB240. If you found some value in this video, I would appreciate it if you were to hit the thumbs up button. If you're not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. That way you get notified the next time we upload a new video. And on that note, I will see you on the next review.